Hey guys, what's up? It's Snake here. Okay, real quick, let's check out this loading screen. Looks like Dr. Maxis maybe on the left. In the upper left, there's that creation of the zombies. We got some, I don't know, test subjects being brainwashed. Somebody may be using a teleporter. We see all those boxes being sent away to communist countries, Russia, China, Vietnam, was it Cuba? So obviously Group 9 through 5 lives on past the fall of the Third Reich. But yeah, like I said before, my name's Snake, and here I'm bringing you some Nocta and Totem gameplay with a little bit of zombie theory, some zombie storyline, if you will. So yeah, let's get started. Nocta and Totem, which of course was the first map ever. It was just kind of tacked on as like a survival mode to Call of Duty World at War. And everybody liked it so much, so they started adding a storyline to it and extra maps and all that kind of stuff. So the level itself doesn't really have any story in it, but from other maps we can kind of figure out where this should place. At least I believe this is just on the other side of those woods is going to be Verut. So these 4 Marines right here, or the 5, because if you played World at War, the loading screen, there's a 5th Marine that gets eaten before the zombies start coming into the airfield right here. So we got 5 Marines sent in, possibly crashed on that B-17 plane. It would make most sense, the one that you're going to see outside the window in the back. And so how did they get here? You know, why are they here? What's going on? So for that, we're going to have to backtrack a bit. Now, during the war, Hitler had a lot of, you know, black magic research and crazy occult type things, and he was looking at anything paranormal that could possibly give him an edge on winning the war. So he's obviously the one that I assume would create Group 935, which we know in reality Group 935 was a group of Freemasons, and we know that Hitler was part of the group, I think it's called the Brotherhood of Death Society, which is related to the Skull and Bones from Yale. So we know there's that whole Illuminati tie-in. And we know from what he says, Richthofen's part of the Illuminati. So what it seems like to me is that Hitler creates this group, Group 935, to start researching wonder weapons and stuff like that. And the Illuminati is obviously funding him, and so they want to keep track of everything that's going on. They want to stay 2 steps ahead just to make sure, like, what happens if Hitler dies. They want to still be in control of this information. So they slip a spy in to Group 935, which is Richthofen, and either causing the group's creation or shortly after the group's creation, there's discoveries by their spies in Russia and Japan of crash sites of these meteorites, which seem to have some strange effects. So so they're sending spies in and they're extracting 115, and in the process at the swamp Shinonuma, which may be in Japan or maybe somewhere else in the South Pacific that Japan acquired through the course of the war, and there at Shinonuma they also discover rudimentary designs for some sort of ray gun using the element 115, which we of course will later find out Dr. Maxis perfects, and Porter perfects even more by making the pack-a-punched version of the ray gun. Now, they have element 115, they've got the prototype of the ray gun, and they're doing all these different experiments, seeing what they can do with 115. You know, they got the bell and the fly trap and stuff like that, which we'll get into later on another map. But they also discover that it reanimates flesh. So this is a way for them to create an unstoppable army that just will destroy everything in its path. But they can't control it. So that's the big thing. So they've got all these tests going on at Derice and at Verut, and all this while, 2 things are happening. One, the Americans have sent in 2 spies, Peter McCain and Harvey Yenna. And at the same time, we're also discovering that some people have a resistance to element 115, because obviously element 115 does crazy things, and they discover that some people have an immunity. Takeo, which they probably found out at Shinonuma, that he has this resistance. And the other one, the Russian, Nikolai, is my guess, discovered when they were extracting element 115 from the Tunguska site, which is in Russia, which is in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. Which my guess is there are probably some pig farms nearby. That's just my guess. But so yeah, and then of course the Mexican who knows where he came from or if he's actually important or not. We'll discuss him on later maps. But so now we got Richtofen, who is experimenting on Nikolai and Takio, and we have Harvey Yenna, who is experimenting with the DG2 at Verut. And how do we know this? Well, we know that he's working at the asylum and that there's an outbreak and that they had to move their experiments with the DG2 to Shinonuma. He says this in the radio message that we hear at Shinonuma. And he's directing all of this towards Peter. And Peter, of course, is, both of them are, like I said, American spies. And Peter, maybe he's working at Doris, but I want to think that he's either at Tunguska or maybe just some undisclosed area, because Harvey actually tells him to go and seek out Richtofen and Maxis. And if he was already at Doris, he probably would just already know Maxis and Richtofen. So that's why I think it's somewhere else. But yeah, so we know that Harvey's working at Verut, working with the DG2, which makes sense. Verut, you know, insane asylum, they're doing electroshock therapy. Well, I mean, what are you shooting with the DG2, right? So, but there's an outbreak, something goes wrong and they can't contain it, and so they have to leave, and they set up shop at Shinonuma where they do more testing. And this works out perfect too, because Harvey Yenna is obviously a weapons expert scientist, because later on, after he escapes Shinonuma and starts working as a spy in Russia for the Americans, he develops the hyena infrared, the H, yeah, hyena, get it? Well, I'm sure most of you already know that anyway. But, so yeah, so we know there's an outbreak at some point before September 1945, and it happens at Verut, and so Harvey leaves there and goes to Shinonuma, and he sends out a message to Peter. Peter gets this message, and of course, instead of taking his advice and going out and searching Maxis and Richtofen, he goes to Verut instead, where Samantha starts making him go insane by talking to him and I don't know, whatever, the teddy bear disappearing, some crazy shit. Whatever she does, he goes crazy. And of course, he sends out a radio message to the OSS to let them know what's up and be like, hey dudes, you gotta send some people in, and the shit's going crazy. So, so now, 935, as well as the OSS, both know that there is someone at Verut. 935 knows that it's a spy because of the message, and the OSS know that it's Peter and that they need to send people in to go and get him. The reason why we know there must have been a message is because they're aware that there's a spy in Verut, according to some of the Call of the Dead radios. Set September 10th, they discover that there's a spy, and then they're going to bring him to Richtofen, and so hopefully that'll replace the Mexican that Richtofen killed. But he doesn't mention that it's Peter, so he doesn't know it's Peter yet. And of course he has a later radio message set September 20th where he speculates Peter and Harvey are spies, but he doesn't say it for sure. He doesn't say that he knows it. So we know that he doesn't know that this spy at Verut is Peter, which means we also have no idea what happened to Peter, because otherwise he would know on September 20th that Peter was the spy and not think of him in the present tense, but in the past tense. So Peter is at Verut right now, and the OSS has sent in 5 Marines led by Tank. And my guess, and this is just my guess, but the 935 group that's being sent in to get the spy as well, see the B-72, they're at the airfield, they have a big weapon, they shoot it down. And so the 935 try to progress towards Verut, and the 5 Marines are getting out of the plane. One of them is eaten, which is part of the World at War loading screen. They changed loading screens for Black Ops, but in the World at War one, there's a guy right in front of the plane who gets eaten, and then the other 4 obviously run in here, and now they're holding up in here. Tank and 3 other Marines, who then later on go to Verut to try and get to Peter. But of course, we're going to talk about that more when we get to Varuk, and we get to read all of his colorful writings on the wall and all of that fun stuff, and we'll talk about mannequins and crazy things. But yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at right now, as far as the storyline is concerned. And the only discrepancy really is there are some people out there, I should say, that actually think Nocta and Toten doesn't come first, and that this isn't how it happens. The Marines don't come from here to Varuk to try and save Peter, because of a specific post by somebody from Treyarch or somebody from Activision or something like that, and it took place after Darius was announced, but prior to its release. So everybody knew the map pack was coming out, and that we were going to find out tons more about the storyline and stuff. And it talks about how there's radio transmissions in the middle of the night, and weird, crazy things happening, and messages in the swamp and stuff like that. And it's obviously what they're trying to do is be like, hey guys, keep searching for stuff, keep searching for hidden things, look for the radios and try and find out all this stuff, because we're going to be throwing tons more storyline at you, in this next installment. So keep your eyes peeled, keep looking for things. So it was kind of like their way of helping us learn how to develop the storyline ourselves without them having to come up with cutscenes and stuff like that, which would just take away from the gameplay. But what it says, what it exactly says in that forum post was that ever since the second outbreak at Nocta and Toten, there have been strange, radio transmissions in the middle of the night, all that kind of stuff. And so people have taken this to mean that the outbreak that happens at Nocta and Toten is the second outbreak, and so that's why they try and place this sometime after Varuk. But I think that's just completely wrong. I think that's silly to think, and if for no other reason, who wrote Help? Who wrote Salvation Lies Above? Who wrote You Must Ascend from Darkness and all that stuff, the bloody handprints and things? What they meant was not that the second outbreak occurred at Nocta and Toten, but ever since the second outbreak, that occurred at Nocta and Toten. This is the second time there's been an outbreak. And if you remember, like I was talking about before, with Harvey Yenna working at the Asylum, which we're presupposing is just across the wooded area out there, there was an outbreak that they couldn't contain, and that's why they had to leave and go to Shinonuma. So if that outbreak occurs, and all they have to do is walk through the woods, then that outbreak is clearly the same first outbreak that happened at Nocta and Toten. The one that caused the people to write the help sign on the door and, put couches on the stairs and stuff like that, and board up all the windows in the first place before we even get here. So yeah. But yeah, I will see you next time at Varut, and I'm just going to leave you with the last moments of my life here. Get ready, because I'm going to make a couple of stupid mistakes. But honestly, I have to say that this is the hardest level. I honestly don't know how anybody makes it past level 10, because I only get to 9 every time, and it's just luck. It's just dumb luck. But yeah, for some stupid reason, I'm gonna get a carpenter, which boards up all the windows, and that's a terrible idea, honestly. Past round 6, let's never get carpenters, never board up any windows. So, but yeah, we're gonna see it right here. Let me just get rid of all these guys for you, and then bam, the carpenter. So instead of walking around it, what do? Oh, well, let's just get it. It's 200 points, right? But I mean, yeah, well, what am I spending points on? At this point, I opened the only 2 doors I ever need to open, so all that's left is just spend money on the box. It was retarded to get it, because 200 points is not worth it. Now all these windows are boarded up, and watch, okay? So that was my first mistake. Here's my second. I shoot at him once, and then think, okay, I'll just let him come to me, and I don't realize that all of them except for one are going to go to that other window right there to the left. So because it's boarded up, they can't get in right away. I can't shoot him yet. I mean, I guess I could have just ran over there and shot them. But now they're going to come in at the same time as all the frickin' jackasses from upstairs. So yeah, see, here, now I have monkey bombs, I should throw them, but nope, of course not. And I go down. So, see you next time, guys. Peace.